You know what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence, it's what happens inside you when everything around you is falling apart. I was 23 years old when I found myself sleeping in my car. My bank account had $17. I'd been fired from my job. My girlfriend had left me. My family had stopped taking my calls. And I remember sitting in that driver's seat one cold morning, watching people walk past with their coffee and briefcases, heading to their warm offices, and thinking, how did I get here? But here's what I didn't know then, what took me years to understand. That moment wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. Because pressure doesn't destroy diamonds. It creates them. Every single person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has faced moments where they wanted to quit, where the pain seemed too much, where the obstacles appeared insurmountable, and in those moments, they had a choice. The same choice you have right now, wherever you are in your journey. See, most people think that hard times are punishments. They see challenges as signs that they're on the wrong path. When business gets tough, they think maybe they're not cut out for entrepreneurship. When relationships struggle, they think maybe they're not meant to find love. When their body gives out, they think maybe they're just not strong enough. But they've got it backwards. Completely backwards. Hard times are not roadblocks, they're gateways. They're not walls meant to stop you. They're filters meant to test you. Think about a tea bag for a moment. You never know what's really inside it until you put it in hot water. The same is true for human beings. You never truly know what you're made of until you're in hot water yourself, until the heat is turned up, until the pressure is on, until everything comfortable is stripped away. I've studied successful people for over 4 decades now. I've interviewed billionaires and Olympic athletes. I've sat with Nobel Prize winners and self-made millionaires who started with nothing. And you know what every single one of them had in common? Not one of them had an easy journey. Not one. There was this young woman I met in Seattle. Her name was Michelle. She'd come to America from Mexico with her mother when she was 12 years old. They had nothing. Her mother cleaned houses 16 hours a day. Michelle would wake up at 5 in the morning to help her mother before school, then stay up until midnight studying. She learned English by watching television and reading newspapers she found in the trash. By the time she was 16, she was fluent. By 18, she'd earned a full scholarship to university. But here's where it gets interesting. In her second year, her mother got sick. Cancer. Michelle had to drop out to take care of her. She worked 3 jobs to pay for treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. She slept 4 hours a night. She cried herself to sleep most nights, wondering if she'd ever finish her education. Her mother passed away 2 years later. Michelle was 20 years old, alone in America, with no degree, no family, and debt she couldn't imagine paying off. Most people would have given up, would have said, life isn't fair, I've been dealt a bad hand. Most people would have blamed circumstances, blamed fate, blamed God. But Michelle did something different. She used her grief as fuel. She went back to school at night while working full-time during the day. It took her 6 years to finish a 4-year degree. 6 years of sacrifice. 6 years of exhaustion. 6 years of people telling her she was wasting her time. Today, Michelle runs a healthcare company worth over $200 million. She employs over 3,000 people. She's built clinics in underserved communities across America. And when I asked her what made the difference, she didn't talk about talent or opportunity. She said something I'll never forget. The hardest times didn't break me, because I wouldn't let them. I decided that my mother's suffering, my struggles, they would all mean something. They had to. So, I made them mean something. That's the key right there. Hard times don't have inherent meaning. You give them meaning. You decide what your struggles will make you become. When you're going through difficulty right now, and I know many of you are, you're being offered something precious. You're being offered the chance to discover who you really are beneath all the comfort and convenience, beneath all the things that have been going well, beneath the identity you've built when life was easy. I remember speaking with a man who'd built a successful construction company over 20 years. He had crews working across 3 states. He was making millions. His kids were in private schools. He had the house, the cars, the vacation home, everything looked perfect from the outside. Then 2008 hit, the financial crisis. Within 6 months, he lost everything, every contract canceled, every property underwater. His savings evaporated. He had to declare bankruptcy. His wife left him. His kids were angry, embarrassed. He told me he spent 3 months in a dark apartment, barely eating, wondering what the point was of continuing. But something shifted in him one morning. He woke up and realized something profound. He'd been so busy building an empire that he'd forgotten how to build anything with his own 2 hands. He'd become soft, dependent. He'd lost the hunger that made him successful in the first place. So, at 53 years old, he started over. Not as a CEO, but as a carpenter. He took a job that paid $12 an hour. Can you imagine? Going from millions to $12 an hour? His old friends wouldn't return his calls. People who'd respected him looked at him with pity. But he didn't care anymore. Because he'd discovered something. The hard times had removed everything that wasn't real. Everything that was just image. Just ego. Just show. 5 years later, he'd rebuilt a smaller company. Not as flashy as before, but more solid, more real. And he told me that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to him. Because it showed him what he was actually made of. Not what he could buy or build when times were good, but who he was when everything was stripped away. That's what hard times do. They strip away the non-essential. They remove the pretense. They burn away everything that isn't truly you until all that's left is your core, your essence, the real you. And here's what most people don't understand. You need that. You actually need the fire. Because without it, you'll never know your true strength. You'll go through life wondering if you could have done more, been more, achieved more. But you'll never know because you were never tested. The strongest steel goes through the hottest fire. The most precious metals require the most intense heat to be purified. The most beautiful diamonds spend millions of years under crushing pressure, and human beings are no different. Your struggles right now, whatever they are, they're not trying to destroy you. They're trying to reveal you. They're trying to show you who you really are beneath all the layers, beneath all the excuses, beneath all the stories you've been telling yourself about why you can't succeed. I've failed more times than most people have tried. I've been rejected hundreds of times. I've had businesses go bankrupt. I've had investments collapse. I've had partnerships implode. I've had people I trusted betray me. I've had moments where I questioned everything about myself and my abilities. But every single failure taught me something. Every rejection refined me. Every loss strengthened me. Not because I'm special, but because I made a decision early on that has served me ever since. I decided that nothing that happens to me has any meaning except the meaning I give it. When someone rejects me, I can make it mean I'm not good enough, or I can make it mean I haven't found the right fit yet. When a business fails, I can make it mean I'm a failure, or I can make it mean I'm one step closer to figuring out what works. When I face an obstacle, I can make it mean I should quit, or I can make it mean I'm being tested to see how badly I want it. The meaning isn't in the event. The meaning is in your interpretation of the event. There's a story about a farmer that illustrates this perfectly. This farmer had one horse, and one day the horse ran away. His neighbors came and said, "Oh, what terrible luck." And the farmer just said, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse came back with 3 wild horses following it. The neighbors came and said, "Oh, what wonderful luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses and was thrown off, breaking his leg. The neighbors came and said, "Oh, what terrible luck." The farmer said, "Maybe." A week later, the army came through the village, conscripting every able-bodied young man to fight in a war. But they left the farmer's son because of his broken leg. The neighbors said, "What wonderful luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." You see, the farmer understood something profound. You never know whether something is good or bad until much later. What looks like a disaster today might be the best thing that ever happened to you tomorrow. What feels like the end might actually be the beginning. I can't tell you how many times something I thought was devastating turned out to be exactly what I needed. Getting fired from jobs that weren't right for me. Having relationships end that were holding me back. Losing money on investments that taught me invaluable lessons. At the time, each one felt like the end of the world. But looking back now, I can see that each one was necessary. Each one was pushing me toward where I needed to be. Each one was preparing me for what was coming next. The hard times you're facing right now are doing the same thing for you. They're not random. They're not meaningless. They're not punishment. They're preparation. When a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, it doesn't just grow wings and fly out. The process is violent. The caterpillar literally dissolves into a soup of cells before reforming as a butterfly. Imagine how that feels. The caterpillar's entire world is destroyed, everything it knew about itself. gone. It must feel like death, but it's not death, it's transformation. And transformation always requires the death of who you used to be. Maybe right now you're in your cocoon, maybe everything you thought you knew about yourself is dissolving, maybe your old identity is being destroyed, maybe your old ways of doing things aren't working anymore, maybe your old beliefs about what's possible are being challenged. Good. That means you're right on schedule. That means transformation is happening. The question is, will you trust the process? Will you understand that the pressure you're feeling isn't meant to crush you, but to reshape you into something stronger, something better, something more capable of handling what you're meant to achieve? Every person who has ever accomplished anything extraordinary has gone through this crucible. Every single one. There are no exceptions. None. And here's something else I want you to understand. The bigger your dreams, the bigger your tests will be. If you're being tested hard right now, it might be because you're being prepared for something bigger than you've imagined. I've watched people give up right before their breakthrough. Right before everything was about to change. They were so close, but they couldn't see it. The darkness was deepest right before dawn, but they quit in that final hour of night. Don't be that person. Don't give up when you're closer than you've ever been. Don't surrender when the finish line is just around the corner. Don't let the difficulty of the moment blind you to the magnitude of what you're building. Because something incredible happens when you refuse to quit. When you decide that no matter what, you're going to keep going. When you make the commitment that this challenge will not defeat you, something shifts. Not just in your circumstances, but in you. You develop a kind of strength that can't be taught, a resilience that can't be learned from books, a confidence that can only come from surviving what you thought would destroy you. And that strength, that resilience, that confidence, it becomes part of your foundation. It becomes part of who you are. It prepares you for every challenge that comes after this one. It equips you to handle bigger opportunities, larger responsibilities, greater success. The person who's never been tested doesn't know their own limits. They don't know what they're capable of. They live with uncertainty about whether they could handle real pressure. But you, going through what you're going through right now, you're discovering your limits. You're finding out what you're made of. You're learning that you're stronger than you ever imagined. And when you come out on the other side of this, you'll carry that knowledge with you forever. You'll face future challenges with a different mindset. Not fear, but confidence. Not doubt, but certainty. Not hesitation, but determination. Because you'll know something that most people never learn. You've been tested, and you've passed. You've been through the fire, and you've emerged stronger. You've faced the storm, and you've survived. That knowledge is priceless. That experience is invaluable. That strength is unshakable. So don't curse the hard times. Don't resent the struggle. Don't wish it away. Instead, recognize it for what it is. Preparation, training, refinement. The universe getting you ready for something greater than you've experienced before. Your current pain is the price you're paying for your future success. Your present struggle is the foundation for your coming breakthrough. Your today's difficulty is tomorrow's testimony. Hard times test you. They push you to your limits. They challenge everything you believe about yourself. But they don't kill you. They can't. Because you're stronger than any challenge you'll ever face. You have more resilience than any difficulty can exhaust. You have more determination than any obstacle can overcome. The question isn't whether you can survive this. You can. You will. The question is, what will you become in the process? How will you let this test transform you? What meaning will you give to your struggles? Choose to become stronger. Choose to become wiser. Choose to become better. Because that choice, that decision, that commitment, it's what separates those who merely survive from those who truly thrive. You want to know something fascinating about bamboo? When you plant bamboo seeds, you water them every single day. For the first year, nothing happens. Nothing visible, anyway. You keep watering. Second year passes. Still nothing above ground. Third year, fourth year. 5 years of watering every day, and all you see is dirt. Most people would quit. They'd say, "This isn't working. I'm wasting my time." But if you keep watering into the 5th year, something remarkable happens. The bamboo shoots up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. 90 feet in 6 weeks after 5 years of seeing nothing. But here's the thing. It wasn't doing nothing those first 5 years. Underground, invisible to you, it was developing a root system massive enough to support that 90-foot growth. Without those 5 years of invisible growth, the visible growth would be impossible. Your hard times right now? They're your underground years. You might not see the results yet. You might feel like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, you're developing roots. You're building a foundation. You're developing the strength you'll need to support the success that's coming. I met a young man in Chicago who'd been trying to launch a business for 7 years. 7 years of 16-hour days. 7 years of hearing no more than yes. 7 years of watching friends succeed while he struggled. 7 years of family members asking when he was going to get a real job. He told me there were nights he'd sit in his car after another failed pitch and just scream, just let out all the frustration and anger and disappointment, and then he'd wipe his face, take a breath, and go home to work on the business some more. In year 8, everything changed. One client said yes, then another, then another. Within 18 months, he'd built a business doing $20 million a year. But here's what he told me that struck me most. Those 7 years weren't wasted. Every failure taught me something. Every rejection refined my pitch. Every setback strengthened my resolve. When success finally came, I was ready for it. If it had come in year 1, I would have blown it. I didn't have the roots yet. The roots, that's what hard times give you. Roots that go deep, roots that can weather any storm, roots that can support massive growth. But most people don't develop roots. They want instant results. They want success now. They want the 90-foot bamboo without the 5 years of watering. And when they don't see immediate results, they quit. They move on to the next thing, and they never develop the depth necessary for lasting success. I've watched this pattern repeat thousands of times. Someone starts a business and quits after 6 months because it's not profitable yet. Someone starts exercising and quits after a few weeks because they don't look like a fitness model yet. Someone works on their marriage for a month and then wants a divorce because things aren't perfect yet. But anything worth having takes time, takes patience, takes persistence through the hard times when nothing seems to be working. There's a concept in metallurgy called work hardening. When you bend metal back and forth, it doesn't weaken it, it strengthens it. The metal's crystalline structure actually realigns in a way that makes it harder, stronger, more resistant to breaking. But you have to bend it. You have to stress it. You have to work it. Human beings are the same way. When life bends you, when it stresses you, when it works you, you don't become weaker, you become stronger. Your internal structure realigns. Your capacity expands. Your resilience deepens. But only if you stay in the process. Only if you don't break. Only if you choose to be work-hardened rather than broken. I've known people who went through bankruptcies and came out the other side wealthier than they'd ever been. Not just financially, but in wisdom, in character, in understanding. The bankruptcy didn't ruin them. It refined them. It taught them things they could never have learned in a classroom or from a book. I've known people who went through devastating divorces and found themselves in relationships more fulfilling than they'd imagined possible. The divorce didn't destroy their capacity for love. It taught them what real love actually looks like. It showed them patterns they needed to change. It gave them clarity they'd been missing. I've known people who faced health crises that forced them to completely restructure their lives. And they told me later that getting sick was the wake-up call they needed. It forced them to prioritize what actually mattered. It made them appreciate every day in a way they never had before. The hard time wasn't the enemy. It was the teacher. But here's where most people get tripped up. They think that because something is hard, it means they shouldn't be doing it. They think that struggle equals wrong path. But that's not true. Sometimes struggle means you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, and the universe is testing whether you're serious. Every meaningful goal requires you to become someone you're not yet. If you want to build $1 million business, you need to become a person capable of building and running $1 million business. If you want an extraordinary relationship, you need to become a person capable of maintaining an extraordinary relationship. If you want optimal health, you need to become a person whose habits produce optimal health. And becoming a new person is always hard. Always. Because it requires you to shed old patterns, old beliefs, old ways of being that no longer serve you. It requires you to step into discomfort, to do things you've never done, to think in ways you've never thought. That discomfort, that difficulty, that's not a sign you're on the wrong path. That's a sign you're growing. That's a sign you're evolving. That's a sign you're becoming. There was a woman I worked with years ago, a corporate executive who'd climbed to the VP level at a Fortune 500 company. On paper, she had everything: 6-figure salary, corner office. respect from her peers. But inside, she was miserable. She hated what she was doing. She felt like she was dying a slow death behind that desk. She came to me with tears in her eyes and said she wanted to leave. She wanted to start her own consulting firm. But she was terrified. Terrified of losing the security. Terrified of failing. Terrified of what people would think. I asked her one question: if you stay in this job for the next 20 years, knowing how you feel right now, what will that cost you? She broke down, because she knew the answer. It would cost her everything that mattered: her joy, her passion, her sense of purpose, her very soul. So she left. She started her consulting firm. And the first year was brutal. She made less money than she'd made in a decade. She questioned her decision every single day. She had moments of panic where she almost went back to corporate life just for the security. But she pushed through. She kept going when everything in her screamed to quit. She trusted that the difficulty was temporary, that it was part of the process, that it was shaping her into the person who could succeed. 3 years later, her firm was generating more revenue than her old corporate salary. 5 years later, she'd built a team of consultants and was working with clients across the globe. 10 years later, she'd written a book, was speaking at conferences, and had created a life beyond anything she'd imagined possible. But here's what she told me that matters most. The hard times in those first few years weren't trying to stop me. They were testing my commitment. They were asking, how badly do you want this? And by pushing through, I proved to myself that I wanted it more than I wanted comfort, more than I wanted security, more than I wanted approval from others. That's the real test. Not whether you can succeed when things are easy. Anyone can do that. The real test is whether you can persist when everything is hard, when the odds are against you, when logic says you should quit, when everyone around you thinks you're crazy. Because that's when character is built. That's when true strength is forged. That's when you discover what you're really made of. I want to tell you about something I observed studying Olympic athletes. These are people who've trained for years, often decades, for a competition that lasts minutes or sometimes just seconds. They endure injuries that would sideline most people permanently. They push through pain that would make ordinary people quit. They sacrifice relationships, financial security, normal life experiences, all for a dream that most people around them think is unrealistic. Every single Olympic athlete I've ever met has a story about their dark night of the soul, that moment when they wanted to quit, when the injury was too painful, when the training was too demanding, when the sacrifice seemed too great, when the dream seemed too far away. And every single one of them made the same choice in that moment, to keep going. Not because it was easy, not because they were guaranteed success, but because they'd come too far to turn back. Because they owed it to themselves to see it through. Because the person they were becoming in the process was worth more than any medal. One athlete told me something that changed my perspective forever. He said, "The medal is nice. It validates the work. It's a symbol of achievement. But the real gold is the person I became to earn it, the discipline I developed, the mental toughness I built, the ability to push through when every fiber of my being wants to quit. That person will serve me for the rest of my life, long after the medal is forgotten in a drawer somewhere." That's what your hard times are creating in you right now. They're creating a version of you that's stronger, wiser, more capable than you've ever been before. A version of you that won't quit when things get tough. A version of you that can handle adversity with grace. A version of you that other people will look at and wonder, how did they develop that kind of strength? And the answer will be through the fire, through the pressure, through the hard times that tested but didn't kill them. There's a Japanese art form called Kintsugi. When a ceramic bowl breaks, instead of throwing it away or trying to hide the cracks, they repair it with gold. They make the broken places beautiful. They make the damage part of the design. And often, the repaired bowl is more valuable than the original because of its unique history, its story of being broken and made whole again. That's what happens to human beings who go through hard times and come out the other side. The broken places become beautiful. The scars become part of the story. The damage becomes evidence of resilience, of strength, of the capacity to heal and become whole again. Your struggles right now are creating your Kintsugi. The places where you're breaking, where you're being tested, where you're barely holding on, these will become the golden seams in your life story. These will become the evidence that you were tested and you endured, that you were broken and you healed, that you faced the darkness and you found your way back to the light. But you have to stay in the process. You have to let the breaking happen. You have to trust that the gold is coming, that the repair will make you more beautiful, more valuable, more unique than you were before. I remember meeting an elderly gentleman at a conference once. He was in his 80s, sharp as a tack, with eyes that sparkled with wisdom. During a break, I asked him what the secret to his success had been. He'd built multiple businesses, raised a wonderful family, contributed to his community in meaningful ways. He smiled and said, "You want to know the real secret? I failed more than anyone else in the room. I went bankrupt twice. I lost partnerships. I made terrible decisions that cost me years of progress. But every single time I fell, I got back up. And every time I got back up, I was a little bit wiser, a little bit stronger, a little bit more determined." He paused, looked me straight in the eye, and said something I'll never forget. "The hard times didn't make me who I am. How I responded to them did. Same fire that melts butter, hardens steel. It's not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you." That wisdom, that understanding, it only comes from experience. You can't read it in a book and truly grasp it. You can't hear it in a speech and fully understand it. You have to live it. You have to go through your own fire. You have to face your own darkness. You have to climb your own mountain. And right now, wherever you are in your journey, whatever struggle you're facing, whatever mountain you're climbing, understand this: you're exactly where you need to be. The difficulty you're experiencing isn't random. It's not meaningless. It's not punishment for something you did wrong. It's preparation for something you're meant to do right. Because here's the ultimate truth that I want you to understand. Really understand, deep in your bones, you are more resilient than you know. You have more strength inside you than you've tapped into. You can handle more than you think you can handle. But you'll never discover that strength without being tested. The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. Growth happens in the stretch zone, in the place where you're uncomfortable, uncertain, unsure. In the place where you're being challenged beyond what you've known before. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, there are moments when you want to retreat back to comfort, back to what's familiar, back to what's easy. But if you do that, you'll never know what you're capable of. You'll never discover your true strength. You'll never become the person you're meant to become. The person you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of this difficulty. The success you're meant to achieve requires the strength you're building right now. The life you want to live demands the character you're developing through these challenges. I've lived long enough to see patterns. I've watched thousands of people go through hard times. And here's what I've observed. The ones who make it, the ones who break through, the ones who achieve extraordinary things, they all have one thing in common. It's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's not even opportunity. It's the decision to not let hard times define them. It's the choice to use adversity as fuel rather than letting it be an excuse. It's the commitment to keep going when everything in them wants to quit. They decide that their current circumstances are not their final destination. They decide that this chapter of struggle is not the end of their story. They decide that they're going to write a better ending, no matter how difficult the middle chapters might be. And that decision, that choice, that commitment, it changes everything. Because when you truly decide that nothing will stop you, when you make the commitment that you'll do whatever it takes for however long it takes, when you resolve that you'll persist until you succeed, you become unstoppable. Not because the obstacles disappear, not because the challenges get easier, but because you develop a kind of determination that obstacles can't overcome. You build a kind of resilience that challenges can't exhaust. You forge a kind of will that difficulties can't break. Think about water for a moment. It seems soft, gentle, yielding. But water, over time, can carve through solid rock, not through force, but through persistence. Drop by drop, day by day, year by year, it keeps flowing, keeps moving, keeps working, until even the hardest stone yields to its patient persistence. That's what you need to be right now, not the hardest, not the strongest, not the most talented, just the most persistent, just the one who refuses to stop, just the one who keeps showing up, keeps trying, keeps moving forward, no matter how slowly, no matter how difficult. So when it feels like too much, remember it's not meant to kill you. It's meant to test you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for what's coming next. When you want to quit, remember, bamboo grows 90 feet in 6 weeks, but only after 5 years of root development. Your roots are growing right now, even if you can't see them yet. The growth is happening beneath the surface. The foundation is being built. The strength is developing. When doubt creeps in, remember, the strongest steel goes through the hottest fire. You're being forged into something unbreakable. You're being refined into something precious. You're being shaped into something extraordinary. This isn't the end of your story. This is the part where the hero faces their greatest challenge. This is the part where everything seems lost. This is the dark night before the dawn. This is the moment that will make the victory sweeter, the success more meaningful, the achievement more profound. But dawn is coming. Your breakthrough is coming. Your transformation is happening right now, even if you can't see it yet. The seeds you're planting in the darkness are germinating. The work you're doing when nobody's watching is counting. The persistence you're showing when you feel like giving up is building something powerful inside you. The question isn't whether you'll get through this. You will. You're tougher than you think. The question is, who will you choose to become in the process? Will you let these hard times make you bitter or better? Will you let them shrink you or stretch you? Will you let them define you or refine you? That choice is yours. It's always been yours. The circumstances don't determine your outcome. Your response to the circumstances determines your outcome. So respond with courage. Respond with determination. Respond with the absolute conviction that you were built for this, because you were. These hard times found you because you're strong enough to handle them. You're being tested because you have the capacity to pass the test. You're facing this challenge because there's something on the other side that requires you to be this strong. And when you come through this, and you will come through this, you'll look back and realize something profound. The hard times didn't kill you. They made you. They revealed what you're truly capable of. They showed you that you're stronger than you ever imagined. They proved that you have reserves of strength you didn't know existed. That's the gift hidden in the struggle. That's the treasure buried in the trial. That's the wisdom earned through the pain. That's the strength forged in the fire. So keep going. Keep pushing. Keep believing. Your roots are growing deeper. Your strength is building. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Your moment is coming. Your time is approaching. Your victory is within reach. The hard times are testing you. They're challenging you. They're refining you. But they're not killing you. They can't. Because you're stronger than any test. You're more resilient than any challenge. You're more determined than any obstacle. Pass the test. Embrace the challenge. Welcome the refinement. Become who you're meant to become. Step into the strength that's been building inside you. Claim the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this difficulty. Because you're not here to simply survive. You're not here to just get by. You're not here to merely endure. You're here to thrive. You're here to excel. You're here to show what human spirit is capable of when it refuses to break, refuses to quit, refuses to surrender. You're here to be living proof that hard times test you, but they don't kill you. They make you unstoppable. They make you unbreakable. They make you extraordinary. So, stand up, face the challenge, embrace the difficulty, trust the process, believe in yourself, and keep moving forward, one step at a time, one day at a time, knowing that every step through the fire is making you stronger. Every day in the struggle is building your character. Every moment of difficulty is preparing you for the greatness that awaits. Your story isn't over. Your best chapters haven't been written yet. Your greatest achievements are still ahead of you, and the hard times you're facing right now are simply the preparation for everything amazing that's coming your way. Hard times test you, but they don't kill you. They forge you into something magnificent. They transform you into someone unstoppable. They prepare you for a future so bright, so successful, so fulfilling that your current struggles will seem like small prices to pay for the extraordinary life you're about to claim.